Translator, Salavin and Rykov. Translation checker, Pew Pew Laser Gun. Editor and proofreader, Leo of Zion Mountain and Dale Ligerkeys. Senior, this is something I came across inadvertently. It has nothing to do with my senior brother, Lu Xianyun suddenly interjected. Her intention was clear. She didn't want to involve Yang Kai into her own matters. You were the one who obtained it. Upon hearing this, Yao Chang-jun ignored Yang Kai and turned his burning gaze towards Lu Xianyun instead. Lu Xianyun was a little frightened by his intimidating gaze, but still nodded with unease, yes. Where? Yao Chang-jun urged. Lu Xianyun froze. She looked at Yang Kai nervously. She talked to Yang Kai about this earlier, but she was interrupted by Pang Guang before she could answer. Was it possible that other treasures existed where this had been picked up from? Otherwise, why would these two both ask this question? Even though she was puzzled, she didn't dare to dally and quickly responded, I found it deep inside the Solitary Void mountain range. The Solitary Void mountain range. As expected, Yao Chang-jun hissed, seemingly having guessed the answer already. His expression fluctuated for a while before he asked solemnly, if you were to go there again, could you retrace your steps? Lu Xianyun answered, I don't remember the way too well. Waste. Upon hearing this answer, Yao Chang-jun's anger flared up. He pressed his surging emperor pressure that was as dense as a solid material over Lu Xianyun, and the latter's face turned red, spitting out a mouthful of blood from the shock. At that moment, Yang Kai suddenly acted. This old monster, Yao Chang-jun, was definitely not easy to deal with. Moreover, he was subject to shifting moods, and Yang Kai could see at a glance he was a merciless one, not putting the lives of others in his eyes just because of his high cultivation. There was no issue with him asking Lu Xianyun about where she found the pristine soul heavenly restoration lotus, she could just take him there. But there was a need to worry about this old man wanting to silence the witness to the crime after he was done using her. Yang Kai guessed that he was likely going to do so. So, when the old man's anger flared up, Yang Kai knew his opportunity had come. Space principles surged as the air around them froze in an instant. Yang Kai snapped his fingers and sent several huge moon blades towards Yao Chang-jun. Yao Chang-jun was still in a fit of rage, so he would never have expected that Yang Kai would take the initiative to raise his hand against him. Obviously, it was admirable that a third-order Dao Source realm brat could hold his calm in front of him, but did he really dare to raise his hand against him? Yao Chang-jun was taken completely by surprise. The black moon blades very quickly arrived before Yao Chang-jun's eyes with the intention of chopping him into pieces. But Yao Chang-jun was unfazed and snorted coldly, little brat, you're courting death. As soon as he said that, he reached out and grabbed the moon blades. Being grabbed by him, after a fierce squeeze, the sharp moon blades shattered directly, along with the space principles Yang Kai manipulated, causing the solidified space around him to instantly smooth under immense emperor pressure. Space principles. Yao Chang-jun revealed a look of surprise at Yang Kai, interesting. Who is Li Wu Yi to you, boy? Your father. As Yang Kai bellowed, the demon eye of annihilation was opened, and the blossoming lotus secret technique revealed itself from the golden vertical slit, pouring out and blasting into Yao Chang-jun's mind. Yao Chang-jun did not expect Yang Kai to use a soul secret technique to deal with him. After all, the difference between their cultivations was too great. Under normal circumstances, the one with weaker cultivation couldn't attack someone stronger using a soul secret technique because it would undoubtedly result in severe backlash, possibly even death. But Yang Kai did so. What unsettled Yao Chang-jun even more was the fact that this was currently his biggest weakness. Yang Kai seemed to have known that, so he did not feel the slightest hint of fear and directly used an extremely strong soul secret technique. Yao Chang-jun was hit instantly, and his knowledge C defenses were swiftly torn through. Severe throbbing pain erupted in his mind and he began howling while holding his head. The chi in Yao Chang-jun's body flared uncontrollably and rampaged out in all directions. Run! Yang Kai shouted as he reached out towards the jade box in Yao Chang-jun's hands, directly snatching the pristine soul heavenly restoration lotus back from him. Then, without the slightest delay, he grabbed the frozen Lu Xianyun and wrapped space principles around their bodies, teleporting away. Hong! Just as the two of them left, the delightful pleasures tea house collapsed. Yao Chang-jun's rampaging chi had transformed into the shapes of dragons and tigers, mindlessly crashing into everything around them, instantly killing off many of the cultivators drinking tea in the tea house, as well as collapsing several stores on the street. A dozen blocks away, Pang Guang, who had crawled up in a pitiful state, looked over, pale-faced, and exclaimed, Third Order Emperor Realm. He had not been able to sense Yao Changjun's cultivation clearly before, but from the outburst of qi just now, the depths of this old man's cultivation had become clear. The owner of that delightful Pleasures Tea House actually turned out to be a third-order Emperor Realm Master. Pan Guang was taken aback. He was Marsh City's city lord, and yet he had no idea such a top-level master was hiding in the territory he managed. This frightened him, and he was glad he had not provoked him before. But what Pan Guang found even more unbelievable was the fact that Yao Changjun had just been hurt. Who did it? From the sound of his roar and the state of things, it was clear he had been hurt badly. Could it have been that young man? But that was also impossible. That young man was only at the third-order Dao Source realm. Even if Yao Changjun stood there and allowed him to beat him, it was impossible for Yang Kai to have hurt him. Could it be that Yao Changjun wasn't the only third-order Emperor Realm Master in Marsh City? Considering this possibility, Pan Guang's face suddenly paled and he began feeling suspicious. Little brat, you dare sneak attack this old master. You're dead. This old master will never let you go. A roar came from the ruins of the tea house. Murderous intent gushed out from Yao Changjun like a tide. It took a lot of effort for him to calm the pain inside his mind. Quickly searching for the direction Yang Kai fled, Yao Changjun immediately gave chase, his body moving as fast as lightning. He was a third-order Emperor Realm Master, yet he was injured in a sneak attack by Yang Kai. Where would he put his face if rumors of this were to spread out? Yao Changjun swore to himself that he had to catch Yang Kai, and then he would have him taste all the torturing techniques this world had to offer in order to vent his rage. In the blink of an eye, Yao Changjun disappeared. Pan Guang stood in place with a gloomy face and pondered for a while. Then, his body also disappeared, flying out of the city. It seemed like he was chasing after Yao Changjun and Yang Kai, but it was not known what he was thinking in his mind. Outside the city, Yang Kai was constantly pushing the local space principles, teleporting more than a dozen kilometers at a time. Lu Xianyun, who had been swept up into his arms, still hadn't come to her senses until now. She was completely dumbfounded. Yang Kai had actually injured Yao Changjun. Looking at the situation, he seemed to have done it using spiritual energy. But how was that possible? What she saw today had completely turned her worldview upside down and made her wonder if she were dreaming. Where is the solitary void mountain range? Yang Kai asked quickly when he felt the murderous intent rapidly approaching. Although he was proficient in the Tao of space, it took a lot of effort from him to teleport each time if he had to bring Lu Xianyun along. If this continued, Yao Changjun would catch up to them sooner or later. With Yao Changjun's great strength, they definitely wouldn't be able to resist him. Now, Yang Kai could only enter the solitary void mountain range first, hoping to shake Yao Changjun off with the help of the terrain there. He heard Lu Xianyun say that the depths of the solitary void mountain range were extremely dangerous, and that even Emperor Realm Masters may not be able to come out alive once they went in. That way. Upon hearing this, Lu Xianyun subconsciously pointed in a certain direction. She had been staying in Marsh City for several years, so she was still quite familiar with the surrounding environment. Yang Kai immediately changed directions and sped towards the solitary void mountain range. Senior brother. Even though Lu Xianyun was in Yang Kai's arms, she still felt chills over her body. That was because the clear murderous intent behind them was growing closer and closer. She could feel it clearly. You should escape by yourself. I was the one who dragged you into this mess. I hurt him once, you think he'll let me go? Yang Kai responded frankly, since you still call me your senior brother, then I can't just abandon you. Rest assured, escaping is my strong suit. When she saw him being insistent, Lu Xianyun could only purse her lips, feeling touched inside. Thinking back to when she met Yang Kai, the two of them would have been complete strangers if they had not exchanged blows. Later, they didn't spend that much time together in Blue Feather Sect, but Yang Kai had still given her the bulk of what they owned at the time when they escaped. This time, Yang Kai even stood up for her when he saw her again, making her feel warm and comfortable in this unfamiliar star boundary. Even in the Grand Desolation Starfield, nobody had ever treated her this well. After living so many years, it was the first time she had met someone who would take such good care of her. With their bodies so close together, Lu Xianyun gradually felt that that chilling murderous intent was no longer as cold. Instead, as time went by, she even felt a touch of warmth inside her. She was shocked and quickly distracted herself, asking curiously, "Senior brother, is that Yao Changjun really a third-order emperor? Guaranteed real or your money back? Then how did you hurt him?" Lu Xianyun was confused. Logically speaking, with the great difference in their cultivation, It should be impossible for Yang Kai to hurt Yao Changjun no matter what sort of tricks he used, but Yang Kai managed to achieve this. That cry of pain from Yao Changjun she heard was definitely not fake. Because there's a crack in his knowledge see. Yang Kai told her, he's definitely suffered a severe injury to his soul before. If that wasn't the case, I would have suffered extreme backlash when I attacked him using a soul secret technique with my current cultivation. If I didn't die then, I'd at least be crippled. How did you know? Lu Xianyun was amazed by Yang Kai. After all, Yang Kai and Yao Changjun had never met each other before, so how did Yang Kai know such a secret? Having a crack in his knowledge see definitely had to be Yao Changjun's greatest secret. Otherwise, he would not have hidden his identity in Marsh City. The reason he was hiding there was obviously that he was worried his enemies would come and find him. Yang Kai smiled, he cares so much about that pristine soul heavenly restoration lotus, obviously because he wants to repair his knowledge see. Lu Xianyun was surprised, so, that spirit flower is called the pristine soul heavenly restoration lotus. Senior brother means to say that this spirit flower has the ability to repair one's knowledge see. No, the pristine soul heavenly restoration lotus itself does not have that ability. Yang Kai pondered for a moment before explaining to her, if this herb you found were to be refined, then it can be turned into the pristine soul restoring heavenly pill which is used to repair broken meridians and dantians. It is extremely useful for cultivators who have been severely injured and had their cultivation crippled. However, the pristine soul heavenly restoration lotus has another name, the twin heavenly restoration lotus. When it appears, each stalk always comes in a pair, one white and one black. If both of them can be obtained, then the twin heavenly restoration pill can be refined. This is an even higher level pill than the pristine soul restoring heavenly pill. It can not only repair broken meridians and dantians, but also repair one's soul and expand their knowledge see. It can even allow a cultivator to more clearly sense principle strength.